The bride, the bullet, the betrayal. She stood by his side during the wedding rituals, but behind his back, she was making calls that would end his life. You trade the trust. I trade the bullet for him. When the sacred Haldi of love is replaced with the cold metal of a handgun, it's not a marriage, it's a trap. Love turned fatal in just 15 days. In a small village where everyone knows everyone, a murder happened without a sound. No forced entry, no witnesses, only betrayal wearing a familiar face. This is the chilling story of how a promise of forever became a death sentence. How trust, once broken, turned into a weapon. And how a bride became the reason for a bullet, not in his heart, but in his head. March 19th, 2025. A grainy CCTV clip shows a young man driving a Hydra machine along the dusty lanes of Palia village, Uttar Pradesh. The wheat fields sway gently around him. He's smiling, oblivious to the fact that this fleeting moment will be the last time he's seen alive. Just hours later, Dilip Yadav, a 25-year-old newlywed, is found lying in a field. A single bullet in his head, his body soaked in blood and betrayal. Who plans a murder just days after a wedding? How does a promise of forever turn into a deadly conspiracy in less than 2 weeks? Behind the village's calm, a sinister plot had been brewing, involving love, jealousy, secret phone calls, and a cold-hearted deal struck in the dark. This wasn't a crime of passion. It was a premeditated execution, and everyone, from the killer to the conspirator, wore a familiar face. This is not just the story of a murder. It's a chilling look into how trust is weaponized, and how the roots of betrayal can grow even in the soil of a newly built home. It's a cool March evening in Palia, a quiet village tucked inside Auraiya district, Uttar Pradesh. Golden wheat fields shimmer under the last light of day, stretching endlessly across the horizon. The air smells of earth, crop, and coming dusk. But peace, here, dies suddenly. On March 19th, 2025, a young man named Dilip Yadav, just 25 years old, a local businessman and Hydra machine driver, is found lying motionless in the field. Blood seeps into the soil beneath him, a single gunshot wound to the head, his eyes wide open, staring, shock frozen into them. Around him, whispers spread like wildfire, because here, everyone knows everyone. And murder? In a village like Palia? That's unheard of. Just 15 days earlier, Dilip had married Pragati Yadav, a 20-year-old woman from the same community. Their wedding had all the colors, songs, rituals, laughter echoing through narrow lanes. But beneath the garlands and smiles, something sinister simmered. Pragati wasn't alone in this story. There was someone else, Auraiya Yadav, her secret lover for the past 4 years. And in the shadows, a third man waited, Ramji Nagar, a contract killer paid in cash and secrets. What makes a new bride turn on her husband? What lies, what desperation could drive a woman to plan a murder? Only 15 days into marriage. Let's dive into this haunting tale. Welcome to our channel, Back Forward, where we dig deep into the darkest corners of true crime. I'm Pratik, your host, and today we're exploring the Dilip Yadav murder case, a story that gripped India in 2025. We've scoured news reports from various trusted newspaper, cross-referenced police statements, and pieced together the chilling details of this case. A special thanks to the Uttar Pradesh police and local journalists who helped verify the facts. This is a story of love, twisted into vengeance. So let's begin. First of all, to understand this tragedy, we need to go back to the beginning. March 5th, 2025. Dilip Yadav, a 25-year-old from Mainpuri, was a hardworking man. He ran a small business and drove a Hydra, a heavy machine used in construction. He was known for his quiet demeanor and ambition, someone who dreamed of building a stable life. His family, like many in rural Uttar Pradesh, believed in tradition. An arranged marriage, they thought, would secure his future. Enter Pragati Yadav, a young woman in her early 20s, vibrant but trapped by expectations. In Auraiya, a district where over a third of the land is farmland, life revolves around community and honor. Pragati's family arranged her marriage to Dilip, seeing it as a path to stability. But there was a secret they didn't know, or perhaps chose to ignore. For 4 years, Pragati had been in love with Auraiya Yadav, a man from her village. Their relationship was passionate, a quiet rebellion against the rigid norms of rural India. Pragati's family, rooted in tradition, pressured her to marry Dilip. She resisted, but in a place where family honor often trumps personal choice, she had little say. The wedding went ahead, bright saris, garlands, and celebrations masking her despair. Anurag, heartbroken but determined, stayed in the shadows, unwilling to let her go. This wasn't just a love story. It was a ticking time bomb. The cultural weight of arranged marriages in Uttar Pradesh can't be overstated. Here, marriages are often alliances between families, not just individuals. Pragati's decision to go along with the wedding wasn't just about love. It was about survival in a world where defying family could mean ostracism. But her heart belonged to Anurag, and that loyalty would soon turn deadly. The ink on Dilip and Pragati's marriage certificate was barely dry when cracks began to show. Just days after the wedding, Pragati slipped away to meet Anurag at a local hotel, a risky move in a small village where gossip travels fast. They weren't just rekindling their romance, they were plotting. Pragati felt trapped, her dreams of a life with Anurag crushed by her new reality. Anurag, fueled by jealousy and love, urged her to act. But what could they do? Divorce wasn't an option in their conservative community. Something darker took shape. Pragati, desperate and calculating, took a shocking step. She began selling her wedding gifts, jewelry, cash, anything of value, to raise money. Her goal? To hire someone who could make Dilip disappear. Enter Ramji Nagar, a contract killer willing to do the job for 2 lakh rupees, half paid up front. This wasn't a spur-of-the-moment decision. It was cold, deliberate, and chillingly pragmatic. Meanwhile, Dilip went about his days, oblivious to the storm brewing. He drove his Hydra, worked his business, and believed he was building a future with his new wife. Friends described him as trusting, even doting. But every smile Pragati gave him hid a secret. Every glance at Anurag fueled her resolve. By mid-March, the plan was set. All they needed was the perfect moment, and a place where no one would hear a scream. On March 19, 2025, Dilip Yadav drove his Hydra through Palia village, likely thinking about his next job. The wheat fields around him swayed, hiding a sinister trap. Pragati, Anurag, and Ramji had chosen this isolated spot for a reason. No witnesses, no interruptions. Using a pretext, possibly a fake issue with his Hydra, as some reports suggest, Dilip was lured to the field. What happened next was brutal. Ramji Nagar, the hired killer, ambushed Dilip with help from 2 accomplices, Shubham and Durlab. They beat him, dragging him deeper into the field. Then Ramji raised a pistol, likely a crude, locally made weapon common in rural crimes, and fired multiple shots. One bullet tore through Dilip's head. He collapsed, blood soaking the earth. The attackers fled, leaving him for dead. Villagers found Dilip hours later, barely alive. His pulse was weak, his face pale. They rushed him to Bidhuna Community Health Center, but his condition was dire. Over 3 days, he was transferred to hospitals in Saifai, Gwalior, Agra, and back to Auraiya, as doctors fought to save him. On March 22, 2025, Dilip Yadav took his last breath, leaving behind a grieving family and a village in shock. The post-mortem revealed the cruelty of the attack. Multiple gunshot wounds, signs of a struggle. But it was the evidence left behind that would unravel the plot. CCTV footage captured Dilip's final drive, showing a motorcycle with 2 shadowy figures trailing him. Call records linked Pragati and Anurag, their conversations a digital trail of betrayal. And then there was the money, 1 lakh rupees, traced to Pragati's sale of wedding gifts. This wasn't just a crime of passion. It was a calculated execution. The Uttar Pradesh police, led by Superintendent Abhijit S. Shankar, moved fast. The case, initially filed as attempted murder, became a murder investigation after Dilip's death. They turned to technology, something new for rural Auraiya. The Trinetra surveillance system, a cutting-edge tool with facial recognition, identified suspects by matching images from the crime scene. CCTV footage showed Dilip's Hydra, then the motorcycle with shooters. Mobile data sealed the case, revealing calls between Pragati, Anurag, and Ramji. By March 24, 2025, just 5 days after the crime, the police had their main suspects in custody: Pragati, Anurag, and Ramji Nagar. A pistol and 2 live cartridges were recovered from Ramji, tying him to the shooting. Pragati's confession was chilling. She admitted to hiring Ramji, driven by her love for Anurag and her hatred for her forced marriage. Anurag, too, crumbled under questioning, revealing their 4-year affair. But the conspiracy ran deeper. On March 28th, police tracked down Shubham and Durlab, the accomplices, after a dramatic encounter. Both were injured in a shootout and arrested, with 25,000 rupees rewards on their heads. In just 8 days, the Uttar Pradesh police had cracked a case that could have lingered unsolved in a less tech-savvy era. Their use of surveillance was a game-changer, proving that even rural India could harness modern tools to deliver justice. As of June 21, 2025, the Dilip Yadav murder case is still winding through India's judicial system. Pragati Yadav, Anurag Yadav, Ramji Nagar, Shubham, and Durlab remain in custody, facing charges of murder under Section 302 of the Indian Penal Code, criminal conspiracy under Section 120B, and likely violations of the Arms Act for the illegal pistol. The evidence is overwhelming. CCTV footage, mobile data, the recovered weapon, and confessions paint a clear picture of guilt. In court, the prosecution has leaned heavily on the technological evidence, showing how Pragati funded the crime with wedding gifts and how Anurag coordinated with Ramji. The defense might argue that Pragati acted under emotional distress, coerced into a marriage she didn't want. But the premeditation, hiring a killer, planning the ambush, makes that a tough sell. The public, fueled by media coverage, demands justice for Dilip, a man betrayed by those closest to him. No verdict has been announced yet, a common reality in India's overburdened courts. But this case could set a precedent for how contract killings and marital disputes are handled. It's a high-profile tragedy, labeled by some as rarest of the rare for its cold-blooded nature. Whatever the outcome, it will ripple through Auraiya and beyond, shaping how society views love, loyalty, and justice. The Dilip Yadav murder case is more than a crime. It's a mirror held up to society. It shows us the devastating consequences of forcing love where it doesn't exist, of cultural norms that silence personal choice. In the wheat fields of Palia, a young man's life was stolen, not just by a bullet, but by a system that left Pragati feeling she had no other way out. This tragedy reminds us to listen, to question traditions, and to build a world where love doesn't lead to bloodshed. What can we learn? That trust is precious, but blind trust can be fatal. That communities must offer support, not judgment, to those trapped in impossible choices. Join us next week on Back Forward as we go back forward into another gripping tale of truth. Thank you for joining us, for seeking the truth with us. Until next time, stay curious and stay safe.